Hello and welcome to the Everyone Has a Story podcast. Now, depending on your age and your work history, we've all had those ups and downs in our professional lives. You know, when we're at our ups, sometimes we consider that bliss. Sometimes when we're down, we call it just, damn it, why did I choose this career? But at the same time, though, when it's all said and done, we have that blissful feeling, at least we're supposed to have. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So let me give you a couple examples of my past where at the end of the day, I was still feeling pretty blissful, but on the way, I'm thinking, really, am I really that happy? So back in my 20s, I was teaching tennis in the state of Washington, and I got the opportunity to move to Hilton Head Island, South Carolina, to teach for a very well-known tennis instructor. His name was all over the world. He had a big resort there in Hilton Head, and he asked me to be part of his staff. So at the time, I'm thinking, what a great opportunity. So I show up for my first day at work. I'm excited. And since I'm the new guy, they say, okay, we're going to have all 12 courts being used today. Why don't you go start setting out the basket of balls at each court? They showed me where the shed was, so I'm right there on the job. I open up the shed door. I walk in. As I'm looking for the light to turn on, the door behind me closes. So I turn around to open it up, and sure enough, it's locked. So now I'm my first day on the job. I'm in a dark shed with all the tennis balls. So I start knocking on the door to see if anybody around can hear me to come open up the damn door. And about that time, probably 5 minutes last, I'm starting to sweat. It's hot. It's humid in South Carolina. And all of a sudden, everybody opens the door and starts cracking up laughing because it happens to everybody. They didn't tell me that there was a stupid little string attached to the door that when the door closes, you just pull the string and it automatically unlatches it. So anyway, I'm out. Everybody had a little bit of fun at me. My heart's still kind of racing a little bit. So I'm thinking, okay, this might not just be the dream job I was thinking, but we'll have fun anyway. So now it's the end of the first week. And during that week, they're on Hilton Head in an area called Sea Pines. They were having a women's professional tennis tournament there. And the finals were that Sunday. And just by chance, Steffi Graf and Chris Everett were in the finals playing against each other. I'm walking around the pro shop when the owner of the company asked me if I would do them a favor and run this package down to the tournament desk there at Sea Pines, where the tournament was being held, because this package had to go to the next tournament. So I said, sure, I'm not doing anything. So they called in the pass. I get to go to the Sea Pines and check out the tournament. And as I get there, I'm parked right in the front row because they gave me the pass to do that. I walk upstairs, and as I'm giving the package away, I get introduced to Chris Everett and Steffi Graf as they're coming in to check in for their match. So I'm thinking, well, this is kind of cool. And so the tournament director saw that I was kind of in awe of seeing both these players. So they said, would you like to stick around and watch the match? I said, well, yes, of course I would. Now that I've got a chance to introduce them, I feel like I'm a big fan now. So as we were waiting for them to walk on the court, John Lloyd, who's a men's tennis player, professional tennis player, Chris's mom and dad come in. And it was the same day as the Masters golf tournament. And this is back in the day when they had those Watchmans, where it's a little 3x3 piece of equipment that had a TV screen on it. So he plugged in his earphones and he was watching the final round of the Masters. He sees me kind of checking out it. He asked me if I'm a golf fan. I said yes. So now he shares with me one of his earbuds. So now he and I are watching the Masters golf tournament together. So I'm sitting next to a Wimbledon finalist, Chris Everett's husband, watching a golf tournament together. He gets called by Chris's mom and dad that the match is about ready to start. So he says, I got to get going here. And he said, are you going to watch the match? I said, yeah, probably from up here. And he goes, why don't you come join us in my box? So now I'm sitting in the box with John Lloyd, Chris's mom and dad, and then Wendy White, Chris's doubles partner. So as fellow pros from Hilton Head started walking by, they're looking at me like, how am I sitting in Chris Everett's private box? And they're having to sit up in the stands. So anyway, the match gets started with. Chris loses. So now I'm best friends. I'm almost family with Chris's mom and dad. So Chris's mom and dad asked me if I want to join them for lunch before the doubles tournament starts, which Chris was playing with Wendy. I said, sure. So now I'm having lunch with everybody. I'm part of the family. I come back. I join John, Mrs. Everett, and Chris's mom and dad. I now watch the doubles. As we're about ready to say goodbye, Chris's mom asked me if I want to join them for dinner. So now I go out to dinner, probably more as Wendy's date since she was alone. We have dinner together. Chris's mom and dad now wants to go to bed. Everybody else is kind of live, feeling pretty good. So I get invited to go out and have a few drinks and maybe go dancing with them. So now my whole day is complete because I really spent the entire day with Chris Everett and her family and her doubles partner. I tell these two stories because a week ago, I'm not thinking very blissfully, but now at that moment, I am thinking 100% this is the best job I've ever had in my whole life. But then guess what happened? Tomorrow happened. And guess what? I'm no longer sitting in the box, rubbing shoulders with John Lloyd and Chris's mom and dad and Chris Everett and Wendy White. I had to go back to work. So now what happens there? Why am I up, down, and now maybe just even scream? So that's what we're going to talk about today with my guest, Angela Jamieson. Angela, thank you for joining me and welcome.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
And so Angela is a transformational life coach, and she's also has her own publishing company, which we're not going to get into much this podcast, but we're going to talk about that sooner than later. So Angela, welcome again. And tell me, what is really your idea, your definition of professional bliss?
Well, professional bliss is just a total happiness and contentment with what you're doing. What I do as a transformational life coach is really help people be resilient so that even though they're going through the ups and downs that you talked about in your very amazing opening story, you see every bit of it as something good. Like that was pretty crazy day for the younger you. But also to see the next day at work as this is fun too.
Yep. So why is it important? Why is it important to you? Because I know that when we first met, you kept talking about how a lot of us are lacking bliss in life and, personally and professionally. Why is it important to you?
Well, being happy, having professional bliss, having personal bliss is really a joy of life. This is what we're here for. This is what we want to experience. And I feel like when I'm in bliss, and I looked up the definition of it when you had talked to me about the subject, and it's really being in a state of perfect happiness, typically so as to be oblivious of everything else. So that is really part of knowing that you're in the right place at the right time and not caring what anyone else is thinking at the time, being oblivious. One other time I explained to you that I felt like it's being in a vat of warm chocolate. And I love being warm. Like right now, I'm in Canada. It is a little chilly. So being warm is one of my favorite things that I don't get to do very often. But just that viscosity of chocolate, it's not like water. You just feel enveloped, enrobed in this warmth. And that is total bliss.
So, and then thank you for your description of that, because I've been waiting for you to tell that particular segment, because the one thing that I found out about you, and this is rare, and so it is supposed to be coming as a compliment, so I hope I convey it that way, that from our very first conversation, you've always appeared to have this very calming nature that absolutely is able to see the better side of everything. Now, everything that we do has a a beginning and an end. And sometimes in between, we can find every reason to be completely miserable, like me stuck in that damn ball shed until someone finally let the joke out and got me out. Or it can be just an ongoing bliss of a day like I had at the tennis match with the Everett family. So why is it that you can be that way? Because I've talked to a lot of people, I've had a lot of conversations, professional conversations, and you can just tell there's that edge of, oh God, they're not completely happy. They're very good at what they do, but you can just tell that sometimes, that day, that moment is not great, which we all have moments of crap.
Of course we do.
Okay?
Yeah.
But there's some people who can't get rid of that crap as quickly as other people can. And they just hang on to it. And just like anything that's crappy, it starts to dry out, it starts to smell, and it has a lot of lingering issues to it, right?
Yeah.
But you've never seemed to have that. You've had moments that aren't positive, but somehow, some way, you're able to turn you around and say, you know what? Okay, it's over with. Go for it. Now let's get back to my happiness, my bliss, my feeling more positive than negative. So how are you able to do it? Because I just have to say I admire that most about you, because you're just really just one of the cool people. You're just calm, cool, collected, and you just have just an easy way of thinking.
Well, processing. I don't know how I could not take that as a compliment, Roger. It was, and I was thinking, I guess I have to tell our story because, and I think one of the skills that I have is to remain present. And I've really worked on that. I've trained my brain. I also know how to reframe any situation that I'm in. So when I'm feeling bad about something, I can reframe it. And it's a little bit of a longer discussion about what that means, but it's like zooming in and out of your life. You can be a helicopter view, or you can be really deep down in the weeds. And usually when you are one or the other, it really helps to zoom in or zoom out, do the opposite. And then you'll see it for what it is. And really, life is just a whole bunch of fun experiences rolled into one. Should I tell our story?
Absolutely, because if you don't, I'm going to, and I'll probably even have to maybe add a little bit to it.
Yes, you may add a little bit to it. So Roger reached out to me on LinkedIn, and he was talking about what he did, and he just wanted to have a conversation about what I did. And I love hearing from random people because I love meeting people. I'm a solopreneur, and although that gives you a lot of freedom, it's solo. So I'm basically with me, myself, and I all the time. And it's really nice to meet other people. So when Roger connected and he said, "Oh, do you want to meet at this time?" So I said, "Oh, sure." Put it in my calendar. I forgot about it. Like, I just finished a whole thing of calls in the morning. I sat down for lunch, and I just kept sitting down for lunch. And then I got back to my computer, and I'm just like, oh my goodness, this is not who I am. I do not forget people. I was looking forward to it all week. So, okay, Roger was gracious, and he said, let's reschedule for next week. Okay, let's reschedule. Did it again. So what I did was I work hard Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Thursday, I go out with my girlfriends for lunch. That Thursday was when I was supposed to talk to you at 2:00 my time. So I went out for lunch, and I was like, oh, I got a couple hours before I got to pick up my kid. So I'll go grocery shopping. So went to the local Walmart. I had extra time in my brain. I was like, I got all afternoon. So I'm just going to go check out, it sounds silly, but lipstick color, because I never do that. So I went to the cosmetics area, and then I went to go pay for something. I looked at my watch, and it hit me. It was 2:11. And I'm just like, what the heck? This Roger is going to hate me. So I did have those moments of like, do I just pretend this never happened. And then he'll hate me and then he'll forget about me and whatever. But I pulled up my good big girl pants and I called him. I joined the call. I'm in Walmart cosmetics section. I'm standing in the corner. Roger comes on and he's like, so is this a bad time for you? And I'm just like, no, it's so good. I suck. I'm just the worst person ever. I have parallel lives that I cannot keep straight. So he graciously again says, should we reschedule? And I'm like, no, we are going to do this come hell or high water. Right? All my groceries are in my bag. I got a heavy winter jacket on. I'm standing in this corner where you got like cotton swabs. People are asking me to move so they can get their little sponges. And I'm just like, we're going to do this, Roger. Let's go. And so we did was it an hour?
Probably pretty close to a whole hour.
And you had the nice little backdrop of the Walmart cosmetics area.
But the fact of the matter is that you had a lot of choices there, not in lipstick color, obviously, but you had a lot of choices.
There were so many choices of lipstick color
that you could have done. And the nice thing is that you, like you said, put your big girl pants on, you owned up to it. But the fact of the matter is, I could tell from the moment that we started conversing, you were 100% present. And to me, that tells obviously me a lot, because I have conversations all day and I can tell pretty quickly when someone is not there mentally. Obviously they're there physically because I can see the person, but they're not there mentally. And the fact is that you were talking about happiness, really what drives you and stuff like that. And you could just tell that you had that big heart that you really wanted to help people, coming from an engineer's career to really turn it around and now being more of a people person that's very disciplined, but very authentic, and being able to see the good side of everything, or at least partial good side of everything. Not everything is going to be good, but from it, there's a reason why that bad thing happened, and you're willing to accept those options. So today, and thank you for telling that very detailed story. I felt like it was just yesterday.
I know, it felt like yesterday. I'm trying to get over it still. But also, as I mentioned to you, kudos to you for actually seeing through my mess to actually want to talk to me a bit more. Because you said, I've got some ideas from this talk. I'll get back to you next week. I think 2 weeks passed. And I was kind of like, I totally get it, Roger. I wouldn't talk to me again either. But then you came back. So here we are.
Yep. Here we are. And here we are 2 years into the pandemic, or almost 3 years now. And life has changed. There's what everybody calls that new normal. But at the same time, there's still that underlying crap level. We still find fault in everything. Not we, a lot of people still find fault in everything. And there's still a lot to be thankful for, no matter what. There's things that we need to be grateful for every day that we wake up. So today, as I just mentioned, 3 years into the pandemic, into still having issues with the great resignation, people unhappy with the workplace, thinking they have thinking that they found their voice. And so they're now trying to tell business owners, business leaders, why they're so unhappy, why they're missing this bliss. Why having this bliss, this recognition of bliss, both from the owner, the manager, and the employee, why is it important today?
Well, of course, everyone wants to have a level of happiness so that they can continue to contribute to their job. As a manager or senior leader, you want to have an engaged, positive workforce. There's more than enough studies to show that happy people are more productive. Relaxed people are more productive. Less stress people are more productive. So we want to get our workforce there. Gone are the days where we work people like slaves. people aren't accepting that anymore. They've been able to reshape the workforce to know what's important to them. The days where our dads were gone all day, moms were at home, those are gone. Now dads are wanting to be with the kids. It's a change in our culture that businesses really need to adapt to.
Okay. Now, you said earlier when we were talking about bliss, one of the things that really inspire you and keep you disciplined to be thoughtful about being blissful and more happy is being in the present. Why does that matter, being in a more happier, blissful state to you?
Well, I think we all need to realize that being in the moment is really all we have. It's really all that matters. The past doesn't matter. The future doesn't matter. It's right now. So if we can make the most out of the moment we are in, it doesn't matter what you did yesterday, and why worry about the future? Because you can't really control that at the moment. So what you can do is soak the most out of the present moment that you can. And I think that really helps see the world for what it is.
Now, we've been talking about the individual's version of professional bliss. Now let's go to the workplace, because it seems like that's the one that's on trial these days, is the workplace. Now, back about, I'm going to say 10 or 15 years ago, there's a restaurant chain, fast food restaurant chain here in the States called Jack in the Box. And their advertising and marketing is always on the lighter side, almost to the lighter, almost darker side of the late night menu offerings. And they were talking about they're advertising their new shakes. And so they're on the high rise, probably somewhere like in New York City. They're in a high rise, and they got the entire board of directors in the room, probably all the marketing directors, and they're all playing loud music. They're dancing, and they got a shake in their hand, and they're just shaking it up. I mean, they are just shaking up, and everybody's just having a good old time. And it's late, and you can tell it's dark out, so it's late at night. And then the camera pans over across the street to the other high-rise executive building, and they're a group of probably board of directors or whatever, and they're very dry, and they just kind of look lost. And they're all looking out the window, watching across the street, everybody dancing, having a good time with the shake in their hand. And the one guy looks up and stands, he goes, "I want to work over there." So how does today's world reenact Jack in the Box, shaking it up with their new flavors of shake on their terms?
I mean, that's a great example of instant gratification. And all of that actually is very temporary. So what we need to do, and what I focus on in my coaching and my course, is the personal transformation, so that you can be happy, you can be blissful wherever you are. I guarantee you, the person who looked over at the Jack in the Box headquarters with all those shakes, he might want to be there at that time, but if he's in there and that's all they do, he's probably going to get frustrated. Like, I am sick of these milkshakes, so it's all grass is greener on the other side, which isn't really true. So it's all about that internal transformation, that when you can be happy with yourself and you can be happy in any condition because you see the goodness of it, that's where you can thrive anywhere, whether it's professional or personal.
And so you've now laid down the green grass analogy. So bring out your garden tools and tell us some solutions. I know you have a three-prong approach. Why don't you introduce us to that three-prong approach and tell us how we can make that greener grass just as green in our workplace as opposed to thinking that we have to go across the street to the other place.
Yeah, and you've probably heard this is the engineering mind that likes about the green grass is we know scientifically when you look at things from an angle, it looks more filled in than when you're standing on top of it. You can just see the grass sort of poking up at you vertically. It doesn't look as filled in. So it does look better over the fence because you're looking at it at a different angle. But anyway, yes, my three-pronged approach, that is what I teach or help people see about the purpose in life. When we talk about what is your purpose in life, everyone thinks that it's like actually one goal. Like I'm supposed to take over my family's business, or I'm supposed to achieve this and that, maybe a certain car, maybe a certain house, a lifestyle. Maybe it's to provide for your kids. But what I like to remind people of is that we don't have actual goals that make us happy. Humans always are happy in the moment. So once you achieve things, like Roger, that job that you were a tennis guy, that wouldn't make you happy today. You've passed that level. The car you drove when you were 18 might not make you happy today because you've passed that. So that's what we are.
The car would make me happy today.
Would it? As in its original state? Actually, it's
absolutely.
Yeah, that's true. There's some vintage cars out there that are beautiful. But, happiness is a ladder. So you achieve it and then it's kind of boring. Then you want something else. So what I try to tell people is focus on growth, freedom, and joy. If you can achieve that every single day, you are working towards your life purpose. And that life purpose can be a whole plethora of things. And we don't even know what good things are waiting for us in life. Like I never thought I would be a publisher. I kind of fell into that. But it's all part of my growth, freedom, and joy. So growth is trying to learn something new, just trying to stretch yourself a little bit so you continue to grow. We need growth as humans to be satisfied. Freedom is the freedom to choose. So in any situation, you can always choose your emotion. I'm going to be pissed off at this. Go ahead. No one's stopping you. You want to see this as a good thing? That's great. No one's stopping you either. So that's the freedom that we have in any moment of time. And then joy is to make sure that you have some joy in your life. So the focus is not always growth, 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 growth. You got to stop. You got to have that ice cream and eat it for a little extra long time to savor that flavor, right? So that's my three-pronged approach to telling people this is how you find your purpose in life. Do those three things every day, recognize them every day, and you can't help but be joyous and blissful.
Okay. Now, I want you to take those three prongs. I want you to put your coaching hat on. And now there's a manager. There's probably a bunch of managers out there because of a great resignation, last man standing approach. There are people who now have been promoted to that title of team leader, manager, executive, because they are the last man standing in that organization. And they don't have really the background or the training to help themselves and their staff take that three-prong approach and deliver it and execute it. So what would you say to that manager, that team leader, that business owner, that executive that knows they need more happiness, more bliss in the workplace? How would you teach them and train them on delivering that three-prong approach?
Right. So that's a very good situation because I think a lot of people are thrown into that these days. What I would coach them on is that just because they're in a position, and this doesn't even matter if you're the last man standing, it can be at any time. You don't have to know everything. right? So you are a team leader, you're a manager, you're a senior executive because you have skills. And, if you're saying that you don't have the skills, it's the awareness you don't have the skills to bring people together, to really utilize people to the best of their potential to achieve the company's goals. So I would just ask them, how are you going to gain the skills that you need to do this job effectively? Do you know your people? How are you going to find out the skills? And when I became a team leader in a multinational oil and gas company, and I was actually a new parent at the time too. I was like, this is just like parenting. You're just finding out people's strengths and weaknesses, and you're trying to guide them so that they contribute to your company vision. So it's number one, awareness. And number two is not really expecting yourself to be perfect. And therefore, you create this vulnerability that is also encouraging to everyone underneath you. I think that's the way management has also changed over time, is like, it's not authoritarian. It's more, hey, I'm guiding this team, but I don't know all the answers. I'm relying on your expertise. So yeah, awareness and a plan to how they're going to successfully operate this team.
And whatever they do, get their butt in the present.
Absolutely. And, we talked about that a bit before, the reframing. No matter how bad your day is, and this is what my motto has always been, no matter how bad things look, I didn't have to program the turning of the earth. I did not have to care about whether my heart was beating overnight. A lot of things are taken care of. A lot of things to be grateful for on a base level. So I always take myself back to that on those really bad days. There's so much more to be thankful for. So yeah, that just puts everything into perspective. And that's the reframing that I was talking about earlier.
Well, this has been a very enjoyable conversation, and thank you for joining me outside the Walmart cosmetics department. I appreciate that.
Thanks for inviting me back after that Walmart cosmetics department chat.
So before you leave, I know that you have a lot of deep wisdom within you. Give us one more little shot of inspiration before you leave on how to live that more blissful professional life.
Well, I would say to be present is to know exactly what puzzle piece you are providing for your company. To do those little menial tasks that seem menial, that all contributes to the cog that is your company. And by you playing that part, is enabling your company to achieve its goals. There's a lot of people who, say, oh, I don't want to work for this big company because I want to go out on my own. Well, that's another grass is greener. And, I loved working for a huge company. Yes, lots of structure, lots of processes, but the projects I got to work on, drilling multi-million-dollar wells, I don't get to do that from my desk right now. So it's exciting. It's to know exactly where you are, the role you play, and how you're helping further the goal is really should give you some bliss, I think.
Well, thank you again, especially for those closing thoughts. Very nice closing thoughts. If someone wants to reach out to you, how can they get in touch with you to learn more about you and your programs and your services?
Well, they can write to me at angela@angelajamieson.com. You can always go to my website I try to do a weekly blog. Actually was locked out this last week. But you can reach me there. LinkedIn is also a good place where you found me. I'm just around.
Perfect. Well, thank you again for being my guest. It's been a most delightful conversation.
Thank you for having me. It's always great talking to you.
My podcast wouldn't be the same if it wasn't for my sponsors and my great supporters. So let me take this opportunity to thank each and every one of them. First of all, I want to thank Rebecca at Custom Bookkeeping and Accounting, delivering trustworthy bookkeeping services since 2003. Dave and Dara at Virtues Matter, making this world a much happier place to be with their Virtues card apps, coaching, and workshops. Stephen at Buller Accounting, giving business owners depth and insight to their numbers. Eric and his team at IvyCat Web Design, the real superheroes of web development and design. Jennifer and Jean at the Seavers Real Estate Team, serving Pierce and Kitsap counties with their home buying and selling needs. Maury at the Maury Method, the world's only brainwave entrainment engineer, helping everyone have more clarity, less stress, and overall better brain health. Priya at Pivot My Profit, helping individuals and businesses have better control of their finances and more money at the end of their day. Melissa at the Soul Vibe Energy High, the queen of the aha moments, helping individuals find those holes in their cups, repair the hole, and gain back their positive energy. And finally, Rick at West Sound Recording. You talk, they do all the rest. Thank you, Rick, for all your efforts with the production and editing of my podcast.